Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 5. Today we're going to look at rounding decimals, which is Lesson 1. Students will be able to round decimal numbers. In this chapter, we're going to add and subtract decimals, and some of our lessons will involve estimating the decimal sums or differences. So in order to do that, we need to know how to round. Well, rounding decimals is very similar to rounding whole numbers. The only thing that might throw you off is if you don't know your decimal place value. So let's just do a few examples. In our first example, we're going to take 1 3/10 and we're going to round to the nearest whole. And sometimes instead of the word whole, you'll see 1, and that means the ones place. The ones place is the left to the left of the decimal point. So you could use a number line to understand this. Since I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, I want to take my whole number and make it on the left side of my number line, and then increase that and go to the next whole number and put that on the right side. So our answer is either going to be that it's closer to 1 or closer to 2. Right in the middle is 1.5. So let's figure out where 1.3 is. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, etc. So 1.3 is right there. And you can see that it's closer to the whole number 1 and not closer to the whole number 2. So when we round 1.3 to the nearest whole, or to the nearest 1, we say that it's closer to 1. Another way to do that problem without a number line is to use the rules of rounding. You've probably heard it before. 5 and above, give it a shove. 4 and below, let it go. So what does that mean for this example? Since I'm rounding to the nearest whole or ones place, I'm going to circle that spot. Then I'm going to look to my neighbor on the right, because that guy is the boss. That guy on the right will tell our circled number, where we're rounding to, what to do. And that's where that little rhyme comes in. If that digit, if the boss is a 5 or above, then he gives our circled number a shove. If the boss is 4 and below, he lets him go. Well, a 3 is less than 4. So 3 can't be too bossy because he's just going to say, I'm letting you go. You don't have to do anything. You can stay as you are. So when I round it, I keep it at a 1. And the boss leaves. The boss always goes away. So we don't have to rewrite anything. It's just a 1. Let's do another example, and this time we're going to round to a decimal place value. So let's take 6.87 and round to the nearest tenths place. So you have to know where the tenths place is. This is our ones, and this is our tenths place. So I'm circling the digit in the tenths place. It's the 8. The tenths place is the first spot after your decimal point. Look to the right. Look at the boss. This time it's a female boss. Okay, this boss, number 7, will tell the 8 what to do. Remember our riddle. 5 and above, give it a shove. So because this is a 7, which is above a 5, okay, and the boss will tell the 8 to move on up. When we say give it a shove, it means that we add 1. So she tells the 8 to get bigger by 1, which means the 8 will turn into the next digit up, a 9. The boss goes away, but we didn't use the ones place, so we're going to keep it, all right? So 6 and 87 hundredths, when we round it to just the tenths place, it's closer to 6.9 than it would be 6.8. So you follow the same rounding rules. It's just a little harder, I think, for students to visualize. So let's do another one. All right, now we're going to round to the nearest hundredths. In order for this to work, you have to know your place value. So we have 16.048. We're rounding to the nearest hundredths place. Step 1 is to circle your hundredths place. This is tens, ones, tenths, hundredths. So the 4 is in the hundredths place. And then the 4 has to look to the boss. Look to the number on the right. 5 and above, give it a shove. Because this is above, we give the 4 a shove. So the 4 turns into a 5. Okay? Now the boss will leave. We don't have to write anything where the boss was, but nothing affected the tenths place where the 0 is, and nothing affected the whole section. So the wholes and the tenths stayed the same. We only changed the hundredths place, and then everything after the hundredths place went away. All right. Let's round to the nearest ones again. Okay, the nearest ones are whole place. So we have 18.945, 18 and 945 thousandths. Circle your ones place. That's the 8. Look to the neighbor, the boss. 5 and above, give it a shove. So the 9 has to boss the 8 around and say, get bigger by 1. So the 8 will turn into a 9. This tens place is the same because it was not affected. And then the boss and all of his little followers go away. If you're rounding to the nearest ones or whole number, then your answer should be a whole number. If you're rounding to the nearest tenths place, then you should only have something that goes to the tenths place. If you're rounding to the hundredths, you would only go to the hundredths. And if you're rounding to the thousandths, you would have to go to the thousandths. Okay? Hope you found this a little bit helpful, and I will see you all later. Thanks for watching.